What's up? Welcome to another Who Is video. Let's get into it. Today we're going to be talking about Ben-Gurion. You might know him. He's a known figure in a few specific places, possibly because he was the first Prime Minister of Israel. So let's go. Ben-Gurion was born in 1886 in Poland, but when it was owned by the Russian Empire. He had a very Zionist background. In 1900, Ben-Gurion's father created a Zionist movement called B'nai Zion, which translates to Children of Zion, and in 1900 it had 200 members. Ben-Gurion was a part of it. He helped along with it, which just shows that he had a Zionist upbringing, which is highly going to affect his future life, which we will talk about. At age 14, he started a youth group called Ezra, which my brother is in. But back then, instead of being just a normal youth group where they meet up and play, they were teaching Torah classes, and they were going and teaching reasons to move to Israel, which they called the Holy Land. Back then, Israel was owned by the Ottoman Empire, and you know this because in 1906, Ben-Gurion moved to Israel to start his political journey, which we'll get into because that is a whole crazy story. But in 1906, he moved to the Ottoman Empire, which owned Israel, and he started the Histadrut, which is the Israel National Trade Union. In 1935, he became the chairman of the executive committee of the Jewish Agency, which is a huge thing and very much starting his political career. In 1936 to 1939, there was the Arab uprising, and he created the policy where no Jew is allowed to attack an Arab, only in defense. This started off as a part of the Haganah, but later on was adapted throughout all of the different groups that were fighting against the British and the Ottoman Empire and self-defense against the Arabs. I just want to quick point out that this is clearly showing that the Jews don't attack, and also influence the reason why we're called the IDF, which stands for the Israel Defense Force, not attacking. We defend before we attack. This has been proven many times, and you see it throughout all the different wars with Gaza, wars with really anyone. We never are the first to attack, we always defend. In 1948, he said the very iconic words that most Israelis know, which we did a podcast episode about it, creating the State of Israel.
אנו מכריזים בזאת על הקמת מדינה יהודית בארץ ישראל. היא מדינת ישראל.
He retired from politics after making a huge change in the world, creating the IDF, creating the State of Israel. Being chairman of the Jewish Agency, he, as we said, created Ezra, which is a huge youth group in Israel. He did so much. He, as I said, retired from politics in 1970. He did a little bit of activism in different wars that we had. After he retired, he moved to a kibbutz down south. He had a very a vision where the southern part of Israel would be a lot more populated, where a lot more people would work there and live there, which in some ways that is starting to happen, because if you think about Israel, the two main tech areas is obviously Tel Aviv, which is a huge tech economy there, but there's also Beersheba, which is starting and upcoming. I know the IDF is moving a lot of their areas down there. A lot of stuff are happening down in that area, so the vision of Ben-Gurion to have a populated area down south is starting to happen. November 23rd, died of cerebral hemorrhage, if that's how you pronounce it. His vision of Zionism, his legacy as a very influential Zionist lives on throughout all of us, and the more we talk about it and the more we teach him, his legacy will live on. Obviously, don't forget to subscribe, because I know a lot of you are not. If you want, we've got links down in the description for our website, for all of our different social medias. Go follow us there. I'll see you next week for another Who Is video. Also, suggest in the comments what you want me to talk about next. I'll see you.